In this video, we're going to talk about what to do when your ICF goes underwater. How do you deal with that? And right now we have a lot of floods happening, and it's an annual thing in a lot of places, but lately there's been some pretty big flood events. And how do you deal with that? Well, we want to cover that quickly in this video to help you guys out. What I've done here is I just took a simple container, filled it full of water, put some block in, some ICF block, filled it up halfway so that the top's out of water and the bottom's in water. And I put some pieces of wood on there as well. I got myself a moisture meter, and we're going to just test it real quick. Now, this has been underwater for 48 hours. So we'll take it apart and we'll see what it looks like. Before I take it apart though, let's just take a look here. I've got another camera going that I'll be able to show you some close-ups of what's happening. You can see after 48 hours, I just put some black marks where the water has gone up. It's gone up a little over an inch on the face. It has soaked up the wood, the water has. And on the side here, I see up to the 5-inch mark. It's gone up 5 inches, sort of a capillary action going up there. Now, if I put this moisture meter on here, it starts off, it's already up to 30 there, 40%. Let's see if I can see it down here. As I get closer to the water, it's 60%, 65%, 78%, depending on where I put it. Now, this kind of moisture meter is a pointless one. It doesn't have the points sticking out. And it's a surface one. It measures a ½ inch back into the material. So if I go on the foam itself, it's showing 0. And that just shows that the water's not wicking up. So it's staying at 0. And we'll see a difference once we pull this out, because there will be water or moisture within the foam. And again, here I'm hitting at over 40% down inside there. So let's take this apart and see what it's like back where where it's been underwater. Now, I didn't have water in the jug when I put this all together, so I'm kind of hoping that one pail holds it down as I take the other pail off. We're going to find out. Just going to move this over a little bit to balance it a bit. And no, it floats. I didn't know I could pick up a 5-gallon pail of water with one hand. And I had this piece here just to hold it together. Okay. Spare parts, we don't need that. Let's get this moisture meter going. Okay, if I go on the foam, I'm at 0. And I should be getting into some moisture here. And I'm not. That means a ½ inch in. Well, there I had it at 26%. That's very close to the tie. So overall, it's actually done quite well. I wonder what the backside is like. That was underwater as well. That's at 0. Okay, so let's go on the wood. Up at the top here, it should be 0, and it is. And as I come down, I'm at 36% already. That's at 50%, 88%. It's 100%. So that's saturated a ½ inch in. Now if I come up, you want to be at 15% or less before you cover. So there at the, about 4 or 5 inches, no, a little bit more than that, above the water line where the water was, it's dry. So as I come down, that's at 40%. I can hold that. But you can see the water has soaked up. Okay, so let's test this other one. Now this one here, I had some damage on here. This one was actually underwater a little bit longer. I've been playing with it and dropped it a few times. But yeah, this one's the same exact thing. I'm at 100% already down right at that water line. And up top here, if I get to the top, it's, well, 2%, 1%, 40%. So it's climbing up the wood. This here, I'm at 0. As I come down, I'm at 13%, 28%, 28, 40 at one point as I move it around. Now what we'll do is I'll let that sit now for another 24, 48 hours, and we'll test it again, and we'll just see how fast that dries out. And I'll have it in the same conditions here. Now, take a look at how this surface moisture meter works. If I take a spray gun, this has some disinfectant in it. If I hold this on here, it's at 100%. So it goes right through the plastic and it measures a ½ inch back what's the moisture content. So it doesn't need moisture up against this. It's actually sending a signal into the product and finding where that moisture is. So that's at 100%. So same here, if I put this on plastic here, I can't see it, but if I go back down here, that's at 100%. So that's how these things work, and they're not expensive at all. This was on sale for less than $50. And it's very worthwhile in a flood situation. So what's happening when you have water come up against your product, that water is typically going to be polluted. Now it's carrying bacteria and things that it doesn't normally carry because it's flooding in areas that don't normally get flooded. So all the pollutants that were in that area get carried with the water and they soak into your materials. So you need to take care of that. So when it comes to an ICF, in this case we're using Fox Blocks, take off all of the damaged surface, which could be sheetrock or siding or whatever you have for a surface. You need to take that off, remove it. And remove it higher than you think you need to, because especially with sheetrock is paper-faced, and if moisture got in it, that paper will wick that water up. And you want to get all of it off because of the pollutants that are in it. So you remove that, and probably 6 inches above the water line, wherever the water line ended up being, is probably going to be good enough. But just monitor as you take it off, and then you'll know whether you took enough off. Then take a power washer or power steamer, clean that wall off. At a minimum, take chemicals of some kind of cleaner. Now this here is, I found it on a shelf, mold control. It kills bacteria. Spray that on the wall, and whenever you do that, let me just take a piece of block here, spray a little bit on the corner and wait for a ½ hour or so and watch. Does it damage the product? Because we don't know what chemicals they've put in here. We might find out, but you know what? In 6 months from now, that chemical may change. We don't know if they've changed it. So you want to test, always test. Once you're happy with it, you know it's going to work good, spray the whole wall. And once you've sprayed the whole wall, let it flash off. Don't just cover it up. You need to let it dry, especially if you're power washing or power steaming. You want to make sure that it dries before you cover it back up. And especially with chemical, that's one thing we see with chemical all the time. This is another one here. This one is ZEP. It kills 99.9% of bacteria in 5 seconds. Just another one. There's probably 20 more. Like, you find out in your local area what's available and use that. And you can probably get big containers of it. This I just got off the shelf just to do this video. So you can find better products. And it's so worth your while, because back to this stuff, if you spray it on and then you quickly cover it up, any chemicals that were in here are trapped and they're still wet. They haven't flashed off. There could be solvents in there. They're not going to affect the EPS unless they're trapped. Now they can eat away. So you want to spray it on, let it dry, and then cover it up. That's very important. So now moisture can create mold or help mold grow. Now, mold needs moisture, but it also needs organic materials to grow. Now, in an ICF, we've got EPS foam. There's no organics in that, so mold isn't supported in it. But you look at the back side of sheetrock, that's paper-faced, that is organic, and that can support mold growth. So you need to clean that off, disinfectant, and then let it dry and then cover it up, and you're going to be just fine. And this is now 2 days later, and we want to check out what the moisture level is at in the foam and in the wood, and see if it's ready to cover with sheetrock yet. So let's do that. I got my moisture meter here. Like I say, 2 days later, 51 hours later to be precise. So this is the first piece we checked, and I just got a little glimmer of moisture in the EPS, so it's probably going to be the same. If I move this around, I'm not getting any reading at all. And then this is the wood. It looks dry. Now, this room has been perfect. 72, 71 degrees Fahrenheit, say 20 or 21 degrees Celsius, and really low humidity because we just entered winter. So we're sitting at about 30% humidity in here. So it's really dry, actually. So that would pull moisture out of here quicker than on a job site. So here I'm at 0 because this was out of water. This here was the water line. So as I go down, now I'm starting to get a reading. Right at the water line's at 15%, so that's good. Oh, now I'm at 26%. So this is the part that was completely underwater, 30%, 54, 60, 65. So that's pretty high percentage down here. Now I had a screw there, so that's not going to be as accurate right there. Well, let's try this other sample. Let's get rid of this one. This is the one where I got higher readings, up to 50% in the foam itself, the EPS. So now up here, of course, that was out of the water. It's dry. As I go down, it's dry everywhere. I like to turn this and check it in different directions. Now, I cannot get a reading. It's dry everywhere. And that one was up at 50%, just over 50% when I checked it 2 days ago. So now this wood on this side, I've got the screw lower down, so it should be more accurate. Because up at the screw, even at the top here, well, of course now I can't get a reading on the screw, but the screws being metal will throw the moisture meter off a little bit. So on the dry, of course, it's at 0. That makes sense. As I come down, I'm right at the water line and it's just starting to read 10%, 15, just like the other one. It's a little bit higher. Coming down, 30%, 38. It's jumping. So it still needs to dry a bit because you want to get down to at least 15% with wood before you cover it up with sheetrock or whatever else you're going to cover it up with. And that's just showing that the EPS did not wick any of the water up and it dried out really quick. So that is something with ICFs that you can really rely on, is that you have a reinforced concrete wall and you have EPS insulation, which water doesn't affect it, but you don't want that moisture in there because you're going to be putting a paperback sheetrock up against it, and you don't want to have issues with that moisture in the wall layer. So you just want to make sure that that wall is dry before you cover it up. You'll be just fine. So that's this test. I don't think I need to go any further with it. That just shows you what you're at, and get onto the site with a moisture meter. Make sure that everything is good, then you can cover it up and you'll be just fine. Hope that video helped you out. Like I said over there, taking way too long to say it, if you guys can think of anything else for us to do, send us a text down below here and let us know what kind of video you'd like to see us do. Hope that helps.